think he's ready, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Thanks, everyone. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Katie Baker, and I'm here on behalf of Americans for Contraception. We are a national advocacy organization that formed in response to Justice Clarence Thomas's concurrence in the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade, in which he said that the court should reconsider Griswold v. Connecticut, which is the case that protected our right to contraception next. So we identified a very real threat, which was further confirmed when Donald Trump said on the campaign trail last year that he was looking at restrictions on contraception. We have worked with legislators to introduce legislation federally and in about 10 states in order to ensure that if that case falls, we have codified the right to FDA-approved forms of contraception into the state code. And we've worked with our legislative champion, Senator Hashmi, who's the chair of the Senate Education and Health Committee, as well as Delegate Marcia Price, who wasn't able to be here today, but has been such a champion from Newport News, to be able to get this bill across the finish line and to the governor's desk. We have with us the petitions, 55,000 petitions in this box from Virginians who are calling on the governor to please sign this bill. The governor's got a March 24th deadline, so we very much want him to sign that bill before this date. And we will be, after the press conference, inviting folks to join us in marching these petitions. We're actually going to go directly to the Patrick Henry building to do that. So it is my pleasure to introduce our bill patron, Senator Hashmi. Senator.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for bringing us together on this very important discussion again. And good morning to everyone who's here. Thank you for joining us. We're here today because the threat to contraception is real and we simply have to respond. And that's why Delegate Marcia Price and I introduced the Virginia Right to Contraception Act. And it's why we and these 55,000 Virginians, you see the petitions in front of me, are calling on Governor Youngkin to sign the bill into law this year. So as we all know, Trump 2.0 hit the ground running on the next round of attacks on our reproductive rights. And as you may recall, the freeze on foreign aid has been devastating to people all across the globe. This administration has blocked over $600 million of already approved funds for family planning assistance worldwide. And this is the critical funding that provides contraceptive care to over 47 million women and couples every year and prevents 17 million unintended pregnancies. You know, the Guttmacher Institute notes that this funding saves 34,000 women and girls from pregnancy and from childbirth complications that could lead, sadly and tragically, to death. The freeze is in addition to Trump's reinstatement of the global gag rule, which cut off funding from organizations that provide contraceptive services all around the world. I stood in this room just a couple of days ago with Congresswoman McClellan to sound the alarm that Donald Trump and congressional Republicans are looking to gut Medicaid in order to pay for tax handouts to billionaires like Elon Musk. Medicaid serves over 13 million women and girls of reproductive age here in America, and in fact, Medicaid is the single biggest payer of family planning services for low-income women. And now Trump and congressional Republicans are eyeing over $880 billion in cuts to Medicaid over the next 10 years so that the ultra-wealthy can get even more tax breaks than they already receive. This is simply going to be devastating to the millions of individuals who rely on Medicaid in order to access contraceptives like Plan B and IUDs. Last year, Republicans tried to gaslight Virginians by saying the right to contraception wasn't anything to worry about. Yet here we are in the second Trump term where the president has clearly shown that he does not believe in the rule of law. This is an individual who said as a candidate that he would not operationalize Project 2025, and yet he's already accomplished 41% of that disastrous plan. It's clear that state governments will once again have to be the brick wall during a second Trump term, just as we were during the first Trump administration. And acting as that brick wall starts with codifying the right to contraception here in Virginia. Glenn Youngkin should stand with a majority of voters who strongly support the proposal, and he must sign this bill. But we are afraid he's going to abdicate that responsibility and continue to pander to what is happening with the Trump administration. I strongly urge him to reconsider that pathway. I want to thank my General Assembly colleagues for being here today, as well as everyone who shared their personal contraception stories over the past year. We've had so many women share stories of needing contraception for health conditions such as PCOS, including Delegate Price herself. We've heard from survivors of domestic violence and sex trafficking who have shared how contraception kept them from being impregnated by their abusers. And we've heard from women who need contraception to manage perimenopause. We've heard from young people wanting to pursue education and careers, and from women whose mothers had 10 or more children because they were of reproductive age before 1965, when the Supreme Court decided then that contraception was a right. And when I think about these stories, I think about how many thousands of stories are in these petitions in front of us. And I asked Governor Youngkin to consider not just the sheer number of Virginians who support the bill, but especially to think about these individual and very human stories as he contemplates whether to sign this bill by Monday. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator. And next we will have Delegate Betsy Carr. Delegate.
Thank you, Katie. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I am Betsy Carr, and along with several other great Richmond colleagues, I represent our community here in the Virginia General Assembly. I'm proud to join you in calling for Governor Youngkin to do the right thing by signing the Virginia Right to Contraception Act. I have personally lived in a world where reproductive rights, including the right to contraception, were not guaranteed. I was very young when the Griswold versus Connecticut came down. Decades later, however, we are still debating whether contraception should be right. Right now, women everywhere are unsure of what the future holds for us. First, they came after abortion, and then last year we saw them come after IVF. It is clear that contraception is the next battleground for the most extreme wing of the Republican Party. Even Donald Trump and Supreme Court Clarence Thomas have stated in their words and writing that this is their intent. This is a simple bill, yet one of the most meaningful we passed this legislative session. It says that your right to use contraception is guaranteed in our Commonwealth, whether for family planning or to manage another condition like PCOS. Contraception is a right you deserve to have protected. I am proud to have co-patroned this bill and hope that Governor Youngkin hears the voices of the strong majority of Virginians, including the 5,500 people whose names are in that box who are calling on him to sign this legislation. Thank you, and thank you to Senator Hashmi and my colleague, Delegate Sia Price, for introducing this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate, for those remarks. Next, we will have Ray Pickett from Planned Parenthood. Ray.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. My name is Ray Pickett, and I'm the Communications Director for Planned Parenthood Advocates of Virginia. First, I'd like to thank you so much for your leadership, Senator Hashmi. You and Delegate Sia Price's tireless advocacy on this issue has given us so much hope when it has been truly difficult to find it. We are truly grateful to have champions like you in the General Assembly. Thank you. Today, we're once again calling on Governor Youngkin to sign the Virginia Right to Contraception Act into law. And today, we come armed with over 55,000 signatures from our friends, our relatives, our neighbors, demanding the same. Virginians deserve certainty and security in their healthcare decisions, but instead, we face regular attacks on our essential healthcare, including contraception, and we continue to fight the same battles year after year. This is not just about family planning. It's about the fundamental health care that millions of Virginians rely on. From IUDs to birth control pills, the freedom to make these personal choices is under threat. Following the Dobbs decision, we've seen efforts to restrict access to contraception, with bills like Life Begins at Conception Acts being regularly introduced, further threatening our rights. This creates an uncertain and chaotic landscape that disproportionately harms those with low incomes, Black and brown women, people who live in rural areas. No one should ever have to worry about losing their access to essential health care. That's why SB 1105 and HB 1716 are so crucial, because they'd ensure everyone in Virginia has access to the contraception they need without fear of restrictions. Today, we are delivering over 55,000 signatures to the governor's mansion, urging him to take action. Governor Youngkin, this is your opportunity to protect the rights and health and autonomy of all Virginians. Sign the Right to Contraception Act into law, and let us move forward together toward a future where everyone can make their own healthcare decisions once and for all.
Thank you so much, Ray. And next we will have Kenda Sutton L from Birth and Color. Kenda.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the founder and executive director of Birth and Color. And this is such an important topic, and it's really sad that we have to continue to talk about why the right to contraception is actually so important. Birth and Color fiercely is fighting to advance reproductive justice in Virginia. We are a reproductive justice organization that is standing at the intersection of the fights for racial justice and full bodily autonomy. We're here today because some of us, all of us, including Black women, brown women, white women, all nationalities across the Commonwealth, are sounding the alarm. This second Trump administration began by attacking many of our fundamental rights in in the United States in the first few weeks. Some of those attacks are even a blatant disregard for the law and the orders of judges. That means everything is on the table this time around. During Trump's first term, he set back reproductive rights for an entire generation. I now have fewer rights than my great-grandmother, my grandmothers. And the only reason why Virginia is so protected, even when it comes to the Dobbs decision, is because of us advocates, our legislators, who are always fiercely fighting to make sure that we are paying attention and that we do know what Virginians really and truly want. What we need now is a leader who fights for Virginians. Unfortunately, Glenn Youngkin has shown more recently that he is indeed just another rubber stamp for the extremist wing of his political party. But this issue does not have to be a partisan one. This issue is popular that even a strong majority of Republican voters are supporting this bill. But outside of politics and polling, we at Birth and Color know that this is just the right thing to do. Women of color are disproportionately impacted by restrictions on reproductive rights. If any proposed restrictions on birth control, Plan B, come to fruition, it will be low-income women who will be hit the hardest. Just look at Medicaid. It is the largest single payer of family planning for low-income women in America. Cutting Medicaid is cutting access to birth control, IUD, and Plan B for women who cannot afford it in any other way. Restrictions on contraception, especially through cuts to Medicaid, will hurt them the most. We must ensure nobody, especially not the government, decides whether or not we can access contraception. And that is what this bill is about. The Virginia Right to Contraception Act would set up the needed legal protections to ensure we do not have further health disparities, particularly when it comes to reproductive health. I hope that Governor Youngkin chooses the side that supports Virginians and to support Virginia Right to Contraception. And I would like to thank Senator Hashmi and Delegate Price for their continuous support and for always advocating for what's right for Virginians. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenda. Our storytellers who are willing to share personal parts of themselves and their lives to discuss what having the right to contraception means to them and what it would mean if it were taken away are really the heart of all our press events and everything we're doing behind this bill. So I welcome Elizabeth McIntyre, who's from Richmond. Elizabeth.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth McIntyre, and I am a lifelong Virginian and a stay-at-home mother to an amazing and curious 22-month-old little girl. I am standing here to lend my voice and my story to our collective efforts to protect the right to contraception in the Commonwealth. Contraception has played an essential role in my life since I left for college almost 20 years ago. Please don't do the math on that. At 18, I already had several friends who had given birth following unplanned pregnancies. I have seen the emotional turmoil that came when my friend chose to give a baby up for adoption because she did not want to forfeit the future that she planned for herself to become a teen mom. I watched another friend get bullied out of high school and move through life with significantly fewer opportunities and advantages than I have had because she gave birth to her first baby at 18 and was not able to balance higher education with childcare as a single mom. I wasn't ready to be faced with these difficult, life-altering decisions, so I began taking birth control. Contraception gave me peace of mind knowing that I could focus on my education and my college experience without having to worry about the possibility of an unplanned pregnancy. I understand, like many, that the best way to prevent pregnancy is to abstain from intercourse. I truly hope that no one in this room will ever wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of their housemate wailing after being raped by 3 strangers that her friend had guaranteed would provide her with a safe ride home. Access to emergency contraception allowed my housemate to focus on healing from her attack without having to worry about whether this assault had left her with an unplanned pregnancy. Because I have had access to contraception throughout my early adulthood, I have been able to find the contraception that works best for me and my body. I am forgetful, and after years of taking oral contraception, I tried several other alternative forms of birth control before getting my first IUD in 2012. I felt extremely fortunate to have found a system that allowed me to have protection from unwanted pregnancy without the vulnerabilities that can come from human error. However, this came at a major cost. In 2012, President Obama had yet to pass legislation requiring insurance carriers to cover the full cost of contraception, and at the time, the total cost of my Mirena IUD was $400, or half the total cost of the device. I will forever be grateful to my mother, who offered to cover the cost of my IUD because she wanted me to be able to access contraception even when I was on an AmeriCorps stipend. When I later had my IUD replaced in 2017, the procedure and the device were entirely covered by my health insurance because the government had decided to implement legislation that expanded access to contraception to all Americans. I was able to finish college, I was able to finish my AmeriCorps service, and I was able to finish graduate school and establish myself within my chosen field before choosing to start my family. When my husband and I were ready to start trying for a baby, we were extremely fortunate because we were able to get pregnant with twins very quickly. When I found myself among the 25% of childbearing adults who experience a miscarriage, I was thankful that by waiting until I had established a support system and access to mental health care, I was able to approach my traumatic experience with advanced coping skills that I did not have when I was in my late teens and early 20s. When we were ready to try again, my medical team was incredible. We were able to welcome our daughter into the world in 2023. After giving birth, like so many others, I was not yet ready to get pregnant again. I had given birth by a C-section and needed to give my body time to heal before putting myself and my family through another pregnancy, and I am forever grateful that I was able to access contraception that works best for my body with ease and without financial burden. I am standing before you today because access to contraception has played an essential part in my life for the last 20 years. Contraception has provided me with the opportunity to take ownership over my own fertility and the freedom to pursue travel and scholarship and a career that the childbearing individuals who came before me could only dream of. I am standing before you because it is my responsibility as a mother to fight for a better future where my daughter has more opportunities than I have had to succeed, not fewer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for sharing your story. Next, I am going to share remarks from Dr. Ashley Apple. Ashley wanted to come in this morning from Charlottesville, but unfortunately had a sick child last night. So I am going to read her remarks on her behalf. I am a professor of nursing, and I am a family practitioner. I'm here today on behalf of the patients and communities I've served for almost 20 years. Privacy and autonomy are fundamental rights that every patient deserves, but sadly, those rights are being eroded by political interference in healthcare decision-making. It's very hard to believe that in 2025, the right to contraception is in question, and yet here we are. Not only has contraception been targeted by state and federal lawmakers, so has comprehensive sex education and a flurry of other issues pertaining to reproductive health care. Make no mistake, politicians are not qualified to make medical decisions for their patients, and their efforts to do so will have drastic public health consequences. Despite efforts to reduce maternal infant mortality in Virginia, our rates are among the highest in the nation, and that's saying a lot because the United States has the highest maternal infant mortality rate of any wealthy country in the world. The right to contraception in Virginia has bipartisan support, and that's for good reason, because health and well-being for all Americans should be a nonpartisan issue. Governor Youngkin, you said many times that your hero is your mother, Ellis Youngkin. Like me, Ellis Youngkin was a professor of nursing. She dedicated her life to obstetrics and gynecology and did what all nurses do. She advocated for her patients. I've never had the pleasure of meeting her, but because she is your hero, precisely for that reason, you have been really good to nurses. You have listened to nurses throughout your tenure as governor. You've invited us to come and speak with you, and you've told us about how important your mother and her advocacy was for patients and how important it was to you. With this bill on your desk, I ask you to consider your hero. Most importantly, consider patients across the Commonwealth and ensure that we have access to reproductive health care, access to contraception. Please sign this bill. Thank you. With that, I want to thank our speakers. Thank you, especially to Senator Hashmi for being a legislative champion, and to Elizabeth for sharing your story. And before we march these petitions over to the Patrick Henry building, just wanted to open it up to any questions from press. Well, I think, Bert, did you want to do one group photo and then we can head over? Thank you all.
You wanna do it behind the podium or by the?
What looks better, Bert?